Does counting days sober help or hinder your ability to stay sober? To be sober means to be absent of said thing, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It just is. It's not something that you're doing, it's simply something you did once and it remained. To be sober means to quit. And when you count days, you're still putting thought, attention, and energy into the idea that you quit. When a client of mine quits, they often forget about smoking weed entirely, especially after the processing happens. This is the about 2-week time frame after our session to where they see the difference of addressing the subconscious need versus trying to consciously go about quitting, which is usually very structured. There's a 12-step program, or there's this whole method of weaning off and using CBD, having an accountability buddy. There's many different ways, even tracking apps. People try to navigate becoming sober. But after my session, you need absolutely none of those things. And if anything, you forget about weed for the most part entirely. Being sober truly means to be free of the substance entirely. No effort, no thought. And those days that you would usually count are no longer a vigilant aspect of your life. All it takes is one relapse for a lack of trust in yourself to take hold, killing one's confidence and motivation to be sober. You were not born with a joint in hand. You didn't have to remind yourself to not smoke prior to you starting smoking for the first time. Something happened in your life that caused weed to be your solution to a deeper issue you felt you couldn't overcome at one point. Now, you may have a general idea of what that issue might be. Maybe you originally had some kind of anxiety or struggled with depression. And so turning to marijuana in those moments had some value in your life. But as you get older and you spend years dissociating, disconnecting, getting higher than yourself, eventually you start to lose an understanding of who you even are. And you start using marijuana more as a tool to escape how you feel. It is something that you do to escape uncomfortability within yourself. And when you do that for long enough, you often forget why this issue is an issue in your life. If anything, you forget who you are, and therefore it becomes very difficult for the average person to be sober. It's almost like you're sitting in a room with a stranger and you're dissociated from who they even are. Because if you've always been high for the last 5-10 years, do you even really know who you are? Because you've always been altered. You've been compromised, and you are not yourself organically. Sure, we all have things in life that go on. There's stressors, depression, ups and downs, loss of family members, getting fired from a job, having to find a new job, moving to a new area, getting out of a relationship, getting back into a relationship, coping with traumas, uncomfortable family gatherings. Whatever it may be, life happens. Life is never on a standstill. There's always going to be some good times coming, and there's going to be bad times coming as well. The point to getting older is that you mature, that you kind of develop this inner strength within yourself to find new ways to adapt and overcome. Because at the end of the day, as humans, that's why we are at the top of the food chain. We were the best at adapting and overcoming obstacles in our life. But when you choose to decide, rather than face your pain and deal with that, you try to alter that moment of consciousness, which is that you're uncomfortable to some degree in your life, rather than investigating why that is early in the process of these things, you turn to marijuana. And when you turn to marijuana, for years and years of your life, every single time you feel uncomfortable, or you had a bad day at work, or an argument with your spouse, or that you just want to kick back and chill for the weekend, you slowly start to disconnect from feeling anything but high. And so you lose valuable times in your life where maturity helps develop you. You start to get more understanding of what you could do in your life to optimize yourself going forward. How can you become more resilient to obstacles in life that will be coming in the future? And so the danger here is as you put more time in of escaping and not building up those skills, weed becomes more and more of a handicap. It's something that you just cannot stop doing, because now there's 5 years of wisdom and knowledge that you just missed out on because you're always high. You're always escaping. You're always dissociating from yourself. The relationship that you would have had with yourself and facing difficult times has been literally put on a pause for however many years that you've been smoking. And that's where it gets really difficult to pinpoint exactly why you can't let go of marijuana. You don't even really know who you are. You're dissociated from who you are when you get into uncomfortable scenarios because you never really allowed yourself to go through those moments. So if this is something that you understand is intimate to your own life, reach out and I'll be more than glad to help.